This is the 11 o'clock briefing for the house explosion on North Weinbach here in Evansville. I'm going to go over a lot of the same stuff that has been shared in the past, but I will also add a few new information items at the end. The Evansville Fire Department was dispatched yesterday to a possible house explosion on North Weinbach Avenue at 12:59, and first units arrived at 13:02. Survey of the situation, the incident commander determined that a second alarm needed to be called, which brought a total of 11 units to the scene, including the structural collapse team. Centerpoint responded and immediately surveyed the scene for natural gas. There were no instrument readings outside the home. Unfortunately, 3 victims died as a result of the house explosion, and our heart goes out to those families affected by that. 1 victim was transported to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. Anybody who has video of the house explosion, please send it to me or the Evansville Police Department. It will aid in our investigation. No cause is determined at this time. 39 homes were damaged to varying degrees. 11 homes are uninhabitable. School is in session today, but last night the Red Cross had set up a reception center to process residents who needed assistance as a result of the house explosion. They had that reception center set up at Vogel School. 15 families were assisted. Weinbach Avenue was closed overnight. It would likely be closed all day today. We'll have another update tomorrow about the road opening or remaining closed. This is a multi-agency response. We had 14 different agencies respond, and the list continues to grow. I'm going to pause right there and say, even though this is a tragedy for the community here in Evansville, it really is a spotlight to how our community comes together to face a common opponent and work together for the good. This is a tedious operation, and evidence gathered must be protected, so we're moving with caution as we go forward with the collection of evidence and removal of debris. When I first reported this morning, I said the structural collapse team would come in and shore up unstable structures to complete a final secondary search. And I can say that that secondary search has been complete and no other victims were found. And finally, the building commission, the Evansville Building Commission, has a phone number that residents can call if they have damage to their homes. And that number is 812-436-7818. And that phone call would be forwarded directly to somebody here on scene, so that residents with questions about whether they can enter their home or not will be guided by that building commissioner in an escorted visit to their home. As we gain more control over the incident and determine the area of focus that we need to collect evidence from and pick up some of the debris, the area of isolation will be reduced. I can't say when, but I will say that it is going to be reduced at some time, probably this evening, and maybe tomorrow Weinbach Avenue may be open. So now I'll take questions.
At this point, where do you guys stand? What's going on over here? What are you guys doing?
Okay, what's going on right now is the agencies involved in the investigation. ATF is assisting. State Fire Marshal's Office, Indiana Department of Homeland Security, Centerpoint are all assisting in the investigation, and our fire investigators also. And they're doing tests on the integrity of the gas line from the main to the meter.
Chief, do you know, with the 3 fatalities that happened, do you know if they were all in the initial explosion, or do you know if they were in houses surrounded?
2 were in the initial explosion, 2 were in the initial explosion, 1 was not in the initial explosion.
So they were in another home?
Yes. And I do not have confirmation on identities. pending notification next to kin.
With the secondary search complete, your firefighters have been able to get into every nook and cranny they would
Yes.
want to check for someone.
Yes. There are no more victims to be found.
And the 15 families that are displaced, are they the only ones who aren't able to get to their homes right now, or are there even more people who are being told to stay away right now?
That's a question that those residents will have to pose to the building commission to determine when they can access their homes. Suffice to say, there are 3 different colored tags: a greenish color, a yellow, and a red. Red is no entry, yellow is entry with an escort, and green is free to enter.
And there's the building department still going through it.
They are finishing up the last 2 blocks of the second round of inspections right now.
Can you speak to what it took to stabilize the properties to be allowed to do your secondary inspection? I know that couldn't happen until this morning. So what does it take to shore up those structures? How badly were they damaged?
They were pretty badly damaged. A lot of the walls were leaning. Structural members broken. And our structural collapse team, it's a trailer full of lumber, and we build braces to support that.
Is that team part of the fire department, or is that a different?
That's a Indiana Department of Homeland Security District 10 asset that fortunately is housed here, and we were able to utilize it today.
You had said earlier there were no reported missing people that you were looking for specifically. To see that followed up by not finding anyone, how relieving is that for you?
That's a huge relief for everybody.
Chief, you said when you and Centerpoint actually went through no instrumentation readings, does that mean that there was no gas, or what does that kind of mean?
That means they surveyed the scene and the scene was safe.
Chief, can you speak to the response time of the fire department just right over here on scene within minutes?
I could probably speculate that they were on scene before they actually announced their arrival. Because a block and a half away from the fire station, a large explosion that was felt all around the city, these guys probably were on the truck rolling out before they were even dispatched.
When speaking, since they are right there, was speaking with them, did they say they kind of felt this the same thing you're hearing from just like residents of this area, where they kind of felt it and shook it and just kind of hopped right in and kind of went to work?
Well, that shift was on duty yesterday. They're off duty today, so I haven't had a chance to talk to them. They're kind of busy.
Sorry, can you comment on ages at all of the people involved, the victims and injured?
No, I don't have any confirmation of identity.
Any pets or animals found dead? If so, were there any rescue?
There was 1 cat rescue.
One cat rescue. Gotcha, thanks.
Chief, I know you don't have identities, but do you know can you confirm the 2 people who were killed in the home that actually exploded? Do they live there?
I'm assuming they lived there. They were inside,
They were
yes.
inside. And the third was inside a building on the street. Where were they?
They were next door neighbor.
Were they inside a building? Or?
Inside the building.
Thank you.
ATF always responds to some sort of incident like this. Is that right, or is that?
That is customary procedure. For example, if there was a church fire, ATF would respond.
You see a lot of the debris out of the roadways out of there. Can you speak to what had to happen before that could happen?
Again, gathering of evidence, and actually we spent time collecting what looked like personal effects and valuable belongings. Rural King donated totes so we could collect those and save them for family members.
Chief, we can see some people digging in the sidewalk over there. Can you speak to what that is at all? Are they shoring up gas lines, checking, doing tests?
That is Centerpoint testing the integrity of the gas line from the main to the meter. They have to dig it up first.
Chief, were there any calls, any reports of gas leaks or the smell of natural gas before the explosion?
I don't have any of that information. All I know is we were dispatched to the house explosion.
Would there be a way to get a list of addresses that were affected in terms of homes that were destroyed and then homes that were severely damaged or that aren't insurable?
Okay.
At a later date?
Yes and no. That's a list we're trying to compile now. We have lots of different agencies needing that information for their particular purpose. For example, the Emergency Management Agency of Vanderburgh County needs that for damage assessment. State Fire Marshal's office needs it for their report. So shortly after this conference, we're going to have a briefing of all leaders of each entity to compile an accurate list. Whether that can be released or not, I'm not sure. Excuse me.
Can you comment any further on the role of the Red Cross here?
Support. They respond to every disaster. This is a major disaster here. If Beth Sweeney would like to speak about the Red Cross role, she's right here.
Yeah, so Morgan and Vicki, we have an update that just came in here from the fire chief.
She's right here.
To start with, they just clarified that there are no further victims that have been found, which is good news because
Hi everybody. I can share a little bit of what we're doing. As Chief Conelly said, so far we've assisted 15 families. We had 15 that came to the reception area yesterday at Vogel Elementary, where we provided food, snacks, water, those types of things. 14 of those families needed a place to stay, so we worked with the community partners on that to be able to provide hotel rooms for them. We are in mass care mode right now. That's what we're doing with the Red Cross, which is to make sure that those immediate needs are met with food, clothing, shelter, those types of things. So our mass care team is working with those families today to figure out what those needs are. We're providing meals for them. We're also working with mental health partners should any kind of mental health services be needed. We're also working with Deaconess and Salvation Army to provide spiritual care for anyone that needs that as well. And then we'll start those disaster assessments and working with families one-on-one on those long-term recovery plans and what those look like. But we couldn't do this without all the amazing community partners. We're working with a lot of different restaurants and businesses who've reached out to say, how can we help? Do you need water? Do you need food? What can we do to help families and the first responders here? And that's what we're doing right now, is coordinating those efforts to get things. You'll see food coming in to be delivered here. The same thing is happening with those families that have been displaced as well. We're working closely with Centerpoint Energy just to get updates on outages and those types of things as families are displaced. I can tell you a little bit about some of the care last night when we were at that reception center. I heard one volunteer say, I don't think I've ever given so many hugs in one day as I did today. Families need us. We're there to give hugs. We're there to give support and continue to assess those needs as we move forward. Vogel Elementary was amazing. The PE teacher stayed with us just in case any families with children that go to that school were there. She had coloring books and crayons out and basketballs to keep children's minds off of what was going on here. So the community support has just been amazing, and the Red Cross will continue to work with these families in the days to come and with all of our local agencies as needed. That's it.
Any other questions? Okay, we'll have another briefing at 2. I expect that we'll have more information at that time. Thank you.